So once we determine who's on the phone, I'll let everyone know, as we usually do, that we'll be putting the meeting into lecture mode, so that we'll be muting all callers, although, of course, you'll be unmuted when it's an appropriate time to speak. So we'll follow the usual practice in that regard. So at this stage, I'd like to just determine who is on the phone. So I'm going to call out the names of who I believe is on the phone, and then we'll see who's missing. Giselle Chrétien?
Present.
Neil Finkelstein?
Present.
Joseph Broya?
Good morning.
Jacqueline Horvath?
Present.
Jeffrey Lem?
Present.
Jan Richardson?
Present.
Clayton Ruby? Gerald Sheff?
Present.
Roger Yacchetti? Is there anybody whose name I didn't call who is on the telephone?
Marion?
Marion Boyd? Marion Lippa?
Lippa.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Robert.
Robert Bird? Sorry, there was somebody else who spoke.
Gavin McKenzie.
Gavin McKenzie, thank you. Anybody else? No. Okay. So that completes the taking of attendance.
The conference is in lecture mode.
So before we get into the full agenda, I have a number of things that I'd like to report on following the summer break. It's been 3 months since we left, and a lot of things have happened. The first thing I want to do, though, is to formally in person introduce our newest bencher, Tanya Walker, who was elected as a bencher at the special convocation held on August 9th by telephone. And I mentioned Ms. Walker at that time, but she's with us today, and I want to formally welcome her. She was called to the bar in 2006. She's the founder of Walker Law Professional Corporation, a commercial litigation firm located in downtown Toronto. In 2014, she received the Outstanding Service Award from the National Bar Association. In 2015, she was the recipient of the Traditional Law Practice Award from the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers and the Rising Star Award from Planet Africa. She's a member of a number of legal organizations, including the Canadian Association of Black Lawyers, the National Bar Association, and the ABA's Forum on Franchising. I know, having met with you over the summer, Ms. Walker, that you are very enthusiastic and eager to take on your new duties, and I know that I and everybody around who's met you so far is very much looking forward to working with you. So welcome to the conference. I'd also like to welcome Kathleen Waters. I think she's here. No, not yet. Okay, well then I'll welcome them when they arrive. Some other welcomes. First, I want to welcome formally Karen Manarin as Executive Director of Professional Regulation. Karen is sitting behind me to my left. Many of you may have met Karen by now. She comes to us, of course, with a wealth of management and hands-on experience in litigation, regulatory investigation, and discipline matters. For the past 7 years, she's served as the Deputy Director Enforcement at the Ontario Securities Commission. And prior to assuming that role, she undertook a 3-year secondment with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police as a senior investigator and team leader of its integrated market enforcement team. Mr. Lapper will be introducing her a little more later. Jennifer Kaur is our new Policy Director. Jennifer comes to the Law Society from the Canadian Bar Association, where she held various roles since 2003, supporting the development of rule of law and access to justice internationally, including institutional strengthening of legal profession organizations. Most recently, she was project director with the International Initiatives Program, supporting access to justice for children and youth in East Africa. Marion McGregor is our new equity advisor. She comes to the Law Society from York University, where most recently she was interim executive director at the Center for Human Rights, and prior to that role she was clinic director of the Community and Legal Aid Services program at Osgoode Hall Law School. So I want to welcome the three of you, and I know I speak for all of us in saying that we're all looking forward to working with you. We were saddened in the late summer by the passing of Martin Teplitsky, QC. Marty Teplitsky was a highly regarded civil litigation lawyer and committed a great deal of his time to community service, including in particular his tireless efforts in establishing and supporting the Lawyers Feed the Hungry program. The program, as we know, has expanded significantly from that first meal served in 1998 to 4 meals a week and 60,000 meals a year in Toronto. The Law Society honored Mr. Teplitsky on February 4th, 2015 with a degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa, and on behalf of Convocation, I extend our deepest condolences to his family. Since being elected treasurer, I've learned it's a busy job, and I've attended a lot of events. I'm not going to bore you with the details of all of them, but I want to mention a few things in particular that I think are worth noting. In August, I attended the CBA's annual conference in Ottawa, where I was invited to speak to council and told them about some of our priorities over the next couple of years. There, I also had the opportunity to meet briefly and hear the Minister, Jody Wilson-Raybould, discuss her agenda for the federal government. I also met and heard from the Chief Justice, where she made her well-publicized call for more efficient and more timely judicial appointments. And I'll speak more about that in a moment. The other matter I wanted to mention was that on September 1st, I was invited to attend and give remarks at the welcome to the legal profession and to the new students entering the Boer-Alaskan Faculty of Law at Lakehead University. This was attended by the local judiciary, the profession, and the faculty at Lakehead, and was a wonderful ceremony for the students beginning their law school term. Under the leadership of Dean Angelique Eaglewoman, I felt inspired by her enthusiasm and the keenness of the students eager to become lawyers. Lastly, I attended the annual dinner to welcome new students and lawyers in Hamilton at the Hamilton Law Association. I found that also to be a very inspiring and invigorating tradition of welcoming new lawyers and demonstrating collegiality at the bar. The opening of the court ceremony on September 13th was also upbeat, with strong commitments from justice partners, the courts, the government, together with the Law Society, to continue their collaborative efforts to modernize and reform the province's justice system. I think we all felt that there was a coming together and a meeting of the minds and a real desire by all parties to push forward with change. It was especially encouraging to hear the Attorney General's strong commitment to advance the proposal to expand the unified family court system throughout the province. We'll be holding a call to the bar tomorrow at Roy Thompson Hall. The call will welcome the inaugural group of graduates from the Boer-Alaskan Faculty of Law at Lakehead University, and we'll be noting that in the ceremony. We've also invited Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler of the Anishinaabe Nation, as well as Professor David Weistub of the International Academy of Law and Mental Health, to attend and be conferred with Honorary Doctor of Laws at the ceremony. I'm looking forward to the ceremony. It'll be my first one. I'm working on my arm and getting ready to shake over 300 new lawyers' hands. For your interest, I just want to note a few upcoming events. On September 28th, there's the Francophone Ontarian event, célébrant le jour des Franco-Ontariens et des Franco-Ontariennes parlant accès à la justice en français. The Law Society is partnering with AJFO and the OBA for this event. On October 6th is Wrongful Conviction Day, organized by Innocence Canada, formerly known as AIDWIC. October 13th is the Hispanic Heritage event. And October 15th, we have the annual Canadian Association of Black Lawyers Conference. Told you I had a lot to say. There is also Access to Justice Week from October 17 to October 21st. This is being coordinated by TAG and is our first Access to Justice Week, which will be an opportunity to engage with the public and explore access to justice issues such as technology, public legal education, and child welfare. It will also feature the launch of Steps to Justice, a digital initiative led by CLEO, which is Community Legal Education Ontario, that provides plain language information about common legal problems. And the content of that can be found on CLEO's website. So I really encourage as many of you who can attend to do so, to attend the Access to Justice Week events. Next, I want to provide you with an update on a number of consultations that we worked on this summer, as the Law Society responded to a number of important calls for input from the federal government. As these came up over the summer with tight timelines, I worked closely with staff and a number of benchers, particularly from the Government Relations Committee, to prepare these responses. The first was in response to the government's consultation on the regulation of intellectual property agents, following legislative changes that accorded the agents a form of privilege for client communications. And our submission encouraged the government to broadly consider how intellectual property agent regulation could be delivered with appropriate regulatory expertise, including in a manner that respects solicitor-client privilege and in a cost-efficient manner, and that recognizes that intellectual property lawyer agents are also and already regulated by the Law Society. The second and third submissions were in response to consultations on proposed changes to the judicial discipline and judicial appointment process. We supported the Federation of Law Societies' submission on reforms to federal judicial discipline process with a focus on ensuring public confidence in our legal system in a manner that balances judicial independence and the need for the judiciary to be held accountable. We provided our own comments on potential reforms to the federal government's Superior Court judicial appointment process, encouraging the federal government to base its new processes on Ontario's judicial appointments process, which we felt has served Ontario well for over 2 decades. The Law Society's own submissions on the intellectual property agents and the judicial appointments process will be posted on our website, and there will be a link provided to the Federation's submissions on the judicial discipline process. I invite you to please read these submissions. These are important issues, and they intersect very much with our responsibilities as a public interest regulator. And I want to also recognize the very hard and excellent work of Judith Straczynski, Policy Counsel, who worked very hard on these submissions over the course of the summer. Not finished. Next, committee memoranda. Over the summer, as I was considering committee appointments and having discussions with the chairs and vice chairs of the committees, I thought it would be helpful for me as treasurer and for the committees in Convocation to review the mandate of the committees, their roles in executing our strategic plan, and also as an opportunity for me to express some of my particular goals and objectives for the committees to undertake during their term. And so you've all seen them in the committees. They've been finalized. These memos are in the Convocation materials and will become public documents. I hope that they will be helpful to the committees in their work, and I hope that they will also be informative to the public in understanding better the work of the Law Society. Also included for information in the Treasurer's report is notice of my appointment of a group called the Treasurer's Appointments Advisory Group. So with apologies to Grant Wedge and TAG, there's now going to be something called TOG. This, as the report indicates, this is a group that's being formed on my initiative to coordinate and assist with the process for the various external appointments we make as Convocation, and to provide me with advice on recommendations for those appointments. Many here, including me, have noted the desirability of a more transparent process for such appointments, with criteria that ensures not only excellent appointments, but also that the appointments reflect the diversity of the province. And that's the goal of this appointments process. And the group's first task will be to, in fact, create a recruitment policy to guide the appointment of well-qualified persons and to establish appropriate criteria for doing that. With respect to the other task forces which require your approval, those will be addressed during the course of the business of the meeting by Mr. Wardle. Finally, just a reminder that there is a budget information session this afternoon, which will take place here following the lunch, and the lunch will be a slightly shorter lunch. We will not have a bar set up across, so we will go straight to lunch, and the lunch will be a little bit shorter than perhaps some of us are used to, so that we can get back to work later this afternoon. So with that, we will turn to the agenda. I apologize for going on so long. Hopefully it won't happen again. There is, I think, first the consent agenda, which is found at tab 1. Moved by Mr. Wardle and seconded by Ms. McGrath. Any questions or remarks on the consent agenda? Seeing no hands and hearing Mr. Lerner, perhaps we could go out of lecture mode.
The conference is no longer in lecture mode.
Any comments or questions about the consent agenda on the telephone? Hearing silence, all in favor?
The conference is in lecture mode.
Any opposed on the telephone? Motion is carried. Thank you.